Hello, 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 everyone. We are back. What's up, Diamond?
What's going on, Dijon? Happy Father's Day. I know I told you on yesterday, but I had to let the people on the air know how much we love you.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. And happy Father's Day to my light-skinned brother, Mr. Michael. From another
Yes.
mother. Happy Father's Day to you, young man. There you go. There you go. There you go. We'll take it. We'll take it. We'll take
And
it.
today is Juneteenth.
Yo, it's
What
back
does
to
that
back.
mean to you?
I mean, for me, coming from the island of Haiti, it means a lot when you think about it. So to me, it's kind of like a sign of relief that all my other brothers and sisters could get to enjoy a luxury that we had just a little bit longer.
Yeah.
I mean, we may have did it a little bit more, maliciously. We got it a little bit more by force. However, just to know that we can live in a society where the concept of all men are created equal can actually kind of look like it.
Yeah.
I like how you phrase that.
Hey, now, kind of look like it.
Right.
And then and for everybody that doesn't understand what that term means, especially if you're of this skin tone, I would highly recommend that you educate yourself just a tad bit,
Exactly.
and to understand what today really signifies, and the fact that it became a holiday.
Yes, I love it. And the banks actually closed like it was 4th of July.
Yo.
It's our 4th. Hey, how
Right.
you doing?
So to me, that's definitely a step in the right direction. That's progress, and I'm
Yes.
gonna take it. I'm gonna take all the progress we can get.
Listen, I concur.
I'm gonna take it right. So we have another beautiful, amazing segment of Iconic,
Konvo.
right? And it's gonna get really, really interesting today because
Deep.
my brain is about to go on overload because I was making fun before the show started saying, listen, I could not pronounce these words.
You said that you wanted to delve into conversations that truly matter. That is what our show
This
is all
is-
about,
You're
right?
right.
So,
However,
hey.
however, I am a simpleton. We can have these conversations
He
on
needs
my
things
level.
in layman's terms.
Yeah, we got to break them down for me, okay? Listen.
A, B, C.
Yeah. And don't tell me the sounds change because if I pronounce a different word and I don't hear you're going to get mad at me.
Pronunciate, Dijon.
Yeah. So we have an amazing guest tonight.
Yes, we do.
This young lady is extremely educated.
Yes.
I don't want to put my resume against hers.
I wouldn't either. I mean, I'm just honored because she's amazing and she's welcomed us into her circle with open arms. Shout out to and thanks to Aunt Linda.
Yes. Yes.
You know, the
I love me some
entire
Aunt Linda
crew.
now. Yeah.
You know, Euphoria
amazing.
Speaks. You know,
yeah.
Shauna.
Yeah.
We love you guys.
Yeah.
So thank you guys for
And
this.
she's a snazzy dresser now.
Listen.
Listen.
Oh, you haven't
now.
seen anything. This is just casual.
Oh, this is casual.
Wait till you attend church, okay?
Listen.
Listen.
Well, I'm a churchgoer now. I might attend now. Don't
You
test me now.
Listen, you have to see all of them together.
Oh,
Linda,
okay.
Carlotta
Okay.
from the Ikettes and
Uh-huh.
her.
Yeah.
Yes, when they all show at and Shauna. Listen, and we can't forget Pastor.
So-
She's coming on soon.
So we just got to have a camera crew follow these
Yeah.
young ladies.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yes,
And it's not
absolutely.
called the Real Housewives. We got to give it a different title though.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. We can make that happen. We can make that happen.
The
We're gonna-
divas.
So we call her Professor because she's an educator.
Yes.
We call her Professor. So everybody, please put a warm hands together for Professor Franklin.
Yay.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I feel so honored to be in the presence of the king and the queen. Thank you.
Look at her trying to soften
I'm
the butter. And
blushing.
stuff. Don't be buttered up so easily.
I'm blushing. You know, I turn red easily.
Yeah.
I
I
love
call it
it.
as I see it.
I like it.
I love it.
So, young lady, not only you're a snazzy dresser physically, but you dress your mind up quite well.
Yes.
Yeah.
You dress your mind up quite well. So I was going through your resume again. And, I'm not going to bed.
Making me blush.
Listen, I
And I'm
refuse.
melanated, so it takes a lot. I'm
And she
melanated.
valid, you see?
I'm melanated.
The melanin popping. But I refuse to be embarrassed on a live show.
So you want her to
Man, you
introduce
crazy.
herself?
So people can know I'm actually Haitian for real. No way in hell.
Oh, he's from
It's
IIT.
it's not gonna happen. Y'all not gonna make me pronounce words that I can't pronounce. No way.
Professor Franklin comes with a lot of accolades, okay? I mean, if you talking about mental health, you're talking about psychology, psychiatry, you're talking about Reiki,
Medicine,
you're talking about just
sexology,
overall
life
health and
coach.
wellness. Listen, you name it. Wait, like I said, greens, potatoes, potatoes. You
All right,
name
all
it.
Yeah, and she got it. She got
right.
everything to cook a full course meal for the human body and mind.
And mine, yes.
Right? Human body and mind.
Yes,
She got
health
it.
and wellness overload. Okay?
Listen. So, young lady, a lot of our audience may not have heard of you. I don't know how. Maybe they've been under a rock like me. However, you're going to move that rock right now and you're going to introduce yourself. So, take a quick 5, introduce yourself, give us a little background, who you are, what you do. Give us that beautiful resume that I can't pronounce because we want to make sure we get it right. You know, there you go. Well, keep the blushing coming then. Keep the blushing coming. Let's go.
Okay, I'm originally from Memphis, Tennessee,
All right, awesome.
and I was around at the time when Dr. King was shot. As a matter of fact, so I'm dating myself. I don't care.
It's
But
all right.
Anyway,
You don't look a day over 25, so who cares?
hey, I told you you're my pretend will.
I'm going to get on the real one.
You're my pretend
I'm going to get on the real one by the
Keep
end
it
of this
coming,
show.
Keep it coming.
There you
But
go.
anyway, I was around when Dr. King was killed. I remember that distinctly. As a matter of fact, my mom had told me the night that he made his last speech to stay around the house, and I was 13, and I didn't really pay attention to her. I just ran over to where he was, which was not close to my house, right? And I'm glad I did because I heard his speech. I was standing on the hills outside of the church, and I heard his speech through the megaphones, and I was so moved by that. And then the next day he was killed. Okay? So something inside of my spirit said, okay, and I've always been like a revolutionary. Okay, I'd call
okay.
myself as a baby Black Panther when I was younger. But so I was really happy that I did go against my mother's will. And God rest her soul. She, until the day she died, never knew that I left. I was far from home. I was running over there, and then I ran back. But I am so grateful and thankful because I heard his last speech. And then, like I said, he was killed. So I'm from Memphis, Tennessee. Memphis hails a lot of great people like Isaac Hayes, Stax Record, Elvis Presley, for people who are into Elvis. So we have a rich history. And I was always very impressed with the activism of the Black people in Memphis. And I made a vow that I was going to do something to further the cause and to speak to my people. I've always been like that. And I remember when I was 5 years of age, and I've always been like an educator. I had would sit on the couch, my little feet couldn't touch the ground. I was teaching the little kids in the neighborhood how to read, you know.
Wow.
So I just had a thirst for knowledge and showing other children. And I was the youngest of 2 children that my mom had. So my brother was 20 years older than I. So I didn't grow
Whoa.
up with people in my family like that. My mom was an only child. So the neighborhood became my brothers and sisters.
Gotcha.
And that's what I've always had. My mom, like I said, didn't have any brothers and sisters. And I only had one brother by my mom on my father's side that I didn't know. He had some children. I found that out later on. But so I was used to working with people, helping people, showing people, sharing things with people, and being very active because I knew that the South was segregated, but it wasn't really affecting me directly because we lived in a segregated Black area. But I knew there were certain things that we just couldn't do or have access to. And so my 6th grade teacher, I never will forget, told us about the KKK, the Ku Klux Klan. And in Memphis, they could parade down the street, you know, downtown, right? And people were afraid. And I said, oh, no, I don't operate like that. And my mom was a revolutionary in her own way because she always taught me to be proud of my melanated skin. I never had a problem with being African in America and loving my skin, loving the complexion. Never had an issue with that. Some people went through all that, but my mother never taught me that I was less than. So, and then she used to work for quote unquote Caucasian people, you know, as a domestic worker. So she would come home and tell me all these stories about, you know, well, if it weren't for us, they wouldn't be able to take care of themselves. You know, she had all these stories. So I wasn't in awe. I was like, oh my God, we take care of them, you know. And so we're in the winning position. So that was the Afrocentric kind of perspective that I've always had. And I felt very proud because my mom, you know, empowered me. So I didn't think I was less than. And my mom told me, okay, you're going to be educated. They go to college, you're going to college. I was 5 years old. I didn't know what college was, right? She said, you're going to college. I said, she didn't go. I said, oh, okay. So she told me, you're going to be a nurse. I told her, I don't like the sight of blood, Ma. I can't be a nurse. I paid the price for it because you don't talk back to your elders, right?
Yeah.
But I didn't become a nurse. So, but then when I went to high school, that's when the Black Panthers were really coming in vogue. And then my friends and I were in the Black Awareness Club, and we were like, you know, Stokely Carmichael and H. Rap Brown and all that. So we were just very Afrocentric. So when I went to college, I went to Cornell, and I got a full scholarship to Cornell University.
Wow.
And I said, I'm going to major in Africana Studies. So I'm not just going to be rhetorical about my history. I'm going to know my history. So I studied it because a lot of us are very rhetorical. You know, we hear little things, but we don't have the facts to support it. I said, no, when you come to me, I'm going to have the facts. I'm going to be able to give you citations, the page number, okay? So I took it very seriously. And then the person who was my mentor was like a Malcolm X like duplicate. He knew Malcolm personally. And I used to sit at Professor Turner's feet. He used to tease me. He said, look at little baby Jamila, because I was green, coming from Memphis. I said, oh my God, this is Malcolm. Malcolm had crossed over. I said, but this is Malcolm.
Yeah.
This is Malcolm. And so when I went to Cornell, I was so blessed because it's an Ivy League institution, and they had all the resources. And I've always known, go where the resources are. I wasn't going there because they were different than me, looked different than me. I didn't care about that because I was empowered as an African in America. I knew that. I always felt that. I went there because they had the money. I went to continent of Africa. They paid for my 4-year school because of my grades. Everything I wanted, they could pay for it.
Pay for it.
Okay? I didn't come out of Cornell with loans, except, you know, I had to have a stereo and some other little niceties. Like,
Hey.
that's how I came out with a loan, not because of the
Gotcha.
education. They said, we're
Hey,
going to
she
pay
had
for
some
stereo.
needs now.
I said, you know, I mean, I had to keep it real. I'm saying, I need my little stereo. So when I go back home, I could tell people I have my own little
So
stereo.
she said, yeah, I had the boombox.
Hey, girl, I had the boombox before it was in vogue. Yes, I did. So what I did
love
is I had the loans just to pay for the little niceties. But I went to Kenya, to Uganda, to Tanzania, to Europe, all on Cornell's dime, right? And I would tell my friends, they can pay for it. Go, because the door's going to close on us. I mean, I had enough insight to know that. And I took advantage of it. So the people who wrote the books taught us in class. So we had firsthand information and knowledge. And that's why I tell people, go to the schools that have the resources, not because they're better than us, because they're not. But they have the resources, and you can learn firsthand from them because they're right in front of you.
So true.
So I went there, and then that was the best 4 years of my life. I have friends that are lifelong friends, and we had that. When I went to Cornell, there were over, I've forgotten how many thousands of people. There were 1,000 Black people when I went there. We had our own little, you know, city kind of. Because I lived in, the guy that I was dating lived in the Black co-ed dorm. I lived in the Black female house. Then we had Africana Center, which I majored in. So I cocooned myself within my own little world. So the outside world didn't really matter. And then I also had a major in English. So I had a double major. I had African American literature as a major, and then I had English as a major, because I had thought I'm going to go out to teach my people about their history and about the literature, like Gwen Brooks, you know, Mari Evans, and some other famous people, you know, that were really, really well known during that time. So when I left Cornell, I was saying, okay, what am I going to do? I thought about law. I said, okay, I had a little stint with that. I said, no, that's not really what I want to do. Then I decided I want to go back into education. So then I got a master's degree at Harvard University, Harvard Graduate School of Education, and to be an administrator. And I moved to Boston. Boston had these desegregation programs. They would take inner city children, primarily African American children, and bust them out into the suburbs. That was their deseg program, right? So I was over one of those programs. I had a whole town called Braintree, and I was responsible for all the Black children in that town. So it was kind of like I was the superintendent of that program for the town. We had different programs in different towns. That was very, very good and very interesting because these children were afforded the opportunity to get an education that their parents didn't have to pay for because it was public, so they didn't have to try to get tuition for private schools. So it was, rather than making the schools equal, which they should have done, they still kept them separated and unequal, but they said, we'll just bust the children out here so we don't have to comply, right? So I did that for a couple of years, and then after that, I went to where else did I go? I went to different schools. Then,
She's done so much.
I went to another school because I said, okay, I'm counseling people, but people don't really take you seriously unless you have the letters behind your name.
Gotcha.
Listen, everybody, you don't have to have the letters behind your name. It doesn't make you more legitimate.
That's true.
But I said, okay, because people are caught up with letters and all that and degrees, let me go and get another master's degree. I got a master's degree in counseling psychology. And that was really good for me because what happened was I was able to give words to what I was seeing. And I was also able to help people who looked like me who were being misdiagnosed.
Awesome.
Even now, a lot of our young people and a lot of us are misdiagnosed. And I tell people,
Better preach.
yeah, I said they're misdiagnosed. And I said, let me tell you, we know we hear voices in the church, but don't go out there in the streets of Atlanta or Boston talking about you hear voices. They would lock you up and put you on the 13th floor in Grady, right?
Yes.
And you're not crazy.
They will.
Yeah, they will. And,
They will.
Yeah, and when you say, I see people and whatever, I said, you're not crazy, but you just can't tell them that because they don't understand that cultural milieu. We have a different kind of background where in our community, you know, when you get the Spirit and the Holy Ghost, you speak in tongue. When you get the Spirit and the Holy Ghost, you can see things. When you get the Spirit and the Holy Ghost, you can hear things. But you can't talk to people who are not part of that culture because they'll misdiagnose you, right? So I said,
schizophrenia all of a
Yeah.
sudden.
yeah,
real fast.
yeah.
You're gonna become
Since
schizo
you
real
brought
fast.
that up, and I'm so sorry, I had to interject right there.
Oh, yeah,
because it's on my
please.
spirit. How do you feel about the masses of young people and even the older ones that have been, quote unquote, diagnosed with ADHD, ADD,
Yeah.
and so forth? What is your
I have several
thoughts on
different
that?
thoughts about it. I think one is that years ago, especially black males, were always labeled as a problem. White men, and I had a friend whose son experienced this. Her son was in I think like the third grade. A white male teacher, huge guy, confronted this child and put him in the closet and treated him as if he were his equal because they feel so intimidated. A lot of white men feel intimidated by black men, black males, regardless of the age. So then they will stick a label on you because you're not compliant and because you're resisting people who are not treating you with integrity. So then they started mistreating you, started labeling you, and then you get this label. And so I came into the field to tell people, no, we're not going to do that. That's the one thing. Then the second thing I'm telling people, do not give your children candy and food that, different foods that have food coloring in them. Yellow dye, red dye, green dye. Those things are biochemically changing your brain cells. And so I'm telling people the diet, and that's the reason why I'm vegan too, and I'm going into it because I'm preaching. I had
Please, yes.
a
we need it.
seminar 2 weeks ago. Your kitchen should be your pharmacy. I'm going to people to tell them, say, let me tell you something.
I was on that live.
I like that. Your kitchen should be your
Yes,
pharmacy.
I was on that live and listen, I took notes.
Yeah, I said, I said, we have to take our health back. You cannot allow your children to eat all of these things because it is going to affect their brain cells. And little boys are just going to be naturally hyper. Little boys, black and white, are just hyper. But when it comes to little black boys, what happens is there's a stigma put on it because also little boys know when they're being treated differently because they're looking at Johnny over here and you're applauding Johnny, but Hamoud over here is saying the same thing, or raising his hand and you're ignoring him. So what happens? He gets tired of being ignored and he acts out.
He reacts. Mm-hmm.
He acts out because he understands that there is a discrepancy, that he's being treated differently. There's disparate treatment. So then the label gets put on. So I'm telling people, I said, look, don't walk into that trap. First of all, let's clean up our diet. We have control over that. And I'm telling you, there's a marked difference. When I was in Boston, I also taught in middle school. And so I said, let me do a social experiment to myself. I would play meditation music after lunch. The scores went up exponentially, test scores. I would then also tell the children that they couldn't eat candy, right? Because I would notice right after lunch, they would just be off the wall because they've had sugar. So you can't eat candy. We're not going to, children trying to sneak and eat it. Mm-hmm. Everything started to shift. Everything started, the calming music, the telling them they couldn't eat candy, during class time or any time after lunch. Things started to shift. And what's interesting? Because things start to change, sometimes we can also not be supportive of change, because it's so different. Like they had a woman here who was the principal in Decatur, and she was diabetic, and she wrote a cookbook, how to be sugar-free and whatever. And she would not allow sodas to come into her building. Parents could not bring cakes in for birthday parties. Scores went up.
Wow.
She was on Nightline. Do you know they got rid of her?
I believe it.
Because Coca-Cola couldn't make money.
I believe it.
Okay, the candy machines could make money. And we conspire with them when they're doing these things that are negatively affecting us and our children. We're brainwashed. Mm-hmm. So when I talk to people, too, about some things, they back up because they have become addicted to the things that are harming and hurting us. So in terms of the children, I said, we need to stop giving children candy. We need to stop having certain kinds of music being played, because they've done studies to show that after they look at certain movies and listen to certain types of music, the behavior becomes extremely violent. And this is what I've told people. So all these quote-unquote rappers who put out music that is very negative and toxic, their children can't listen to it. They don't allow their children to listen to it.
Interesting.
They don't allow their own children to listen to it.
There you go with the candy. He's removing all the candy from the building.
He's removing the candy. Yes.
He's removing all the candy from the building.
Thank you, brother. You're saving lives. Saving lives. Thank you.
I love it.
But so we need to really, we need to take this very seriously, because I'm seeing an epidemic. And I'm seeing it, and I know that it doesn't have to be this way. And it's because people just don't know. They're not making the connection. They don't see the correlation between violent behavior and the things that children are listening to and eating. There's a difference between when I was growing up, you didn't see gang banging. You didn't see drive-by shootings, right? People calling each other brother and sister. And
because
blood.
there was a different opposition at that time.
Now, if I call you a dog, I can shoot you because I don't have any connection to you. I don't have a spiritual connection to you. If I call you something that I can chop with as a woman, I can shoot you. If I call you the N-word, and I'm into energy too, and I test people, I said, I'm going to tell you something. Those words are not benign, because when I test people energetically, they lose their power. I've shown it. I've done it in demonstration. When you allow people to call you things that are not enhancing your spirit and your soul, it's like hitting you with a brick. And they're like, oh my God. I said, let me show you how it works. And I said, it's by design. During the 60s when we were talking about Black power and empowerment and whatever, they said, oh no, we can't have that. We have to have them, destroy each other, kill each other. Case in point, Nipsey Russell brought out the whole thing. He was empowering people.
Yep.
Okay, he said economics first. This rap stuff, he said, no, this doesn't have any longevity. We're going to take back the mind. We're going to empower us. We're going to work for each other. They killed him.
Yep.
And Dr. King said the same thing. Coretta said the same thing. She said, as long as my husband was talking social injustice, They left him alone. When he started talking economics, they killed him.
See, people like non-tangible. They don't like tangibility. But I have a question for you with everything that you've just said. And for me, everything just came full circle. And, you know, my girlfriend called me earlier today. Hi, Angie. Love you, sis. And, you know, she checks in on me all the time. And we were just discussing the same things. And we talked about, you know, the gun control issue. We talked about how, you know, what is it called? The driving issue. And it's on the tip of my tongue. Ooh. Anyway, the drivers that can't, you know, road rage. There we go.
Road rage. Okay.
So someone literally just got shot like 4 times. Like the person, they had road rage coming off the exit. The person drove up to the car and fired 4 shots right into the car. And it's sad. And then we saw how many people are actually, for example, the black lady, the son left a toy outside, and I guess the Caucasian family, their son took the toy inside, so she went and knocked on the door and asked for the toy back, and they shot her. So like these things are like seriously out of control. So for me, with everything that you discuss, we're talking about the gun control, we're talking about the medication, we're talking about, you know, candy, we're talking about some of the nutrition that we have. I personally believe it has to do with population control.
Oh, definitely.
So I just wanted your input on that.
Oh, yeah, during the 60s, because see, that's one of the reasons why I went to Cornell, too. Cornell had the first African-American Studies department that was renowned in the country. And I went there specifically for that. Every time I do something, I have an agenda in my head. So I'm not just doing things randomly. You know, some people, no, I don't. I have a plan in my head. I said, so let me go to the top school in the country that has the top program in the country. They had a program before Harvard did, right? So I can learn exactly what they're doing because they're studying us. And they have these studies. I learned about studies. Tell you one thing. The reason why they have housing projects, particularly like in New York, because they have found if you stack people on top of each other and you give them limited space, they're going to turn on each other like rats. They had done rat studies before then, right?
Wow.
So then they start stacking people on top of each other. And so in New York is known for having, back when I was in school, for having gunshots. I mean, people killed because they have limited space. And then when you have limited space, you know, you become very agitated very quickly because you don't have your own personal space, you know, and there are no boundaries. So what happened with that population control, stack them on top of each other, okay? They'll kill each other. Then what we would do is put them in areas where they call them food deserts, where there are no supermarkets. Right?
Thank you.
There are no supermarkets, so what they have to do is go outside of their community.
I lived in one of those before. I know what you're talking about.
Go miles
Yep.
to get food, right? And so people are not paying attention to things like that. You go up to Alpharetta, completely different reality. So I said, okay, I see what they're doing now. And now with what they're doing with no background checks for guns and whatever, I said, what they are planning on happening is they know that, okay, if you shoot someone and you don't have to have a background check or whatever, it's going to be hard to trace the gun. So we're just going to put them all out into these communities and allow people to just accidentally find them and kill each other. But let me tell you how the creator of the universe is, the God that I serve, Yahweh, whatever.
Yes.
Everything that you think you've done to me has already been done to you.
Yes.
And it backfires. When they were flooding our communities during the 60s with drugs, right? And we weren't doing the hard drugs, but when their babies started taking heroin and jumping out of the windows, okay? And when their babies started shooting each other up, okay? That's when they decided, Nancy Reagan, we need to say no to drugs because their communities were being affected. The same thing with guns. Most of the mass shootings are not done by us.
Absolutely
We
not.
know that.
They're not
Absolutely
done
not.
by us.
No.
And they're not done in our schools, right? So they're sitting back and saying, oh my God, what we thought was going to exterminate them is now affecting us because everyone is connected on this planet. You can't do something in Japan like they did in dropping the bomb, and now we're dealing with the
Hiroshima,
radiation.
yeah.
Exactly.
What, decades later? You can't do that. The planet isn't, it's not designed like that. So when you have malintentions, it's going to affect you too. So now the gun thing is catching up with them
Well,
too.
of course, what you put out comes right
It
back.
comes right back. That's karma.
Yes.
It's karma, and it's planetary karma. So all you do, I told people, just get some popcorn and watch the movie.
Karma,
That's
she's
all
serious.
you have to do.
She's a serious one.
You
Equal energy in terms of meeting out justice. She doesn't care if you're black, white, or whatever. If you have malintentions toward me and you do something that's negative towards me, okay. Karma, it's not God or anyone, it's your karma. It comes full circle. And you set it in motion.
Yes.
Your low vibration intentions set it in motion.
Yes.
Listen, guys, we're having a phenomenal dialogue. We're going to take a quick little break and we're going to come back and continue this dialogue. Make sure you guys stay tuned in. You listen to Iconic Konvo with Diamond and
Dijon talk.
Yes, sir. All right, guys, we're back. We are back. Listen, we're having a very thought-provoking dialogue.
Yes, we are. Told you Professor Franklin was going to bring it.
Listen, once I couldn't pronounce the words in the resume, I knew what I was in for. Nobody had to tell me different. I already knew. And I'm got exactly what I said. Did I tell you today I was going to be a student?
Yes.
You've never heard me so quiet in my life.
Because you were just
My
waiting.
big mouth. Hey, stop.
You were
I'm over
waiting.
here just. Go ahead, girl. Keep talking. Talk to me. Talk to me.
And
right.
it's coming.
Right. No, I'm thoroughly enjoying the dialogue, right? But I want to unpack a lot of this.
Yes.
Because I want to make it sure it's digestible for all levels.
Okay.
Right? So a message is great, however, it has to be received.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Right? So, and one thing that I think, if I had to break down, listen, I'm going to put her resume on the comment section. When you guys are able to pronounce it, send me some voicemails, okay? But when I read everything that you've accomplished, and first of all, I want to congratulate you on all your accomplishments, all of your educational accolades, all of the things that
Yeah.
you've done, right? Because sometimes we don't get enough, accolades, especially in our community, right?
Yeah.
But
Thank you.
there was two things that stood out to me.
But can I say something?
Most definitely.
I stand on the shoulders of my grandmother, my
Awesome.
mother, Harriet Tubman, Sojourner Truth, Malcolm X, Fannie Hamer, Nelson Mandela, Marcus Garvey, Stokely Carmichael. Those are the shoulders that I stand on. So you see this vessel here because of them. But for them, if it had not been for them, I would not be here. So
You have a strong foundation.
a strong foundation.
I like it. And sometimes, we're building on quicksand out here, but you had a good foundation. But that's
Yeah.
good, right? But that's really good. However, I want to unpack a lot of the things you said. So when I looked at your resume, there was two things that stood out to me. When I said, well, what does she do? Well, honest to goodness is, I saw a heart for helping people because I was trying to understand what do all these people do and why do they do it?
Right.
Because I'm trying to understand, right? And the second thing that I saw is you wanted to understand the human behavior. right? Because I'm looking at all these words that I had to go. I told you my thesaurus was out, my encyclopedia, my dictionary. I ain't go to Google or Siri. No, I had to pull out the books. The archaic. What does this say? What does this mean, right?
I can't with
Because
you.
on Google they're changing them up every day now. They don't mean what they used to mean. So I had to go get the old printed stuff.
Yeah.
Now you didn't change this one. I know this right here, right? So I had to go, get them the archaic stuff, right? So Braille, a little bit of Braille, nothing too major, right?
You know what?
Because I needed to learn, what my eyes
can't.
couldn't pronounce. Maybe my hands could tell me a little bit better, right? But I want to go. I want to go back a little bit. I want to start back from the beginning of your intro, and it was that story about MLK, right? Because I don't want to overpass that story because I saw how much of an impact it had on you, and
Yes.
you emotionally evoked that a little bit as you were speaking.
Yeah.
Although you had a lot to fill in and you're trying to compact it in. However, there are still some parts that I feel like we need to unravel a little bit more, right? Now you were defiant. If my mama,
Yes.
mama would have.
Yes. And she did, but
Mama
I still,
said.
she did.
Listen, you got your speech in.
You got your speech in. Like, I don't want the people to misunderstand how powerful that is.
was.
To say that I got to hear MLK speak his last speech.
Yes.
Right.
Prior to the assassination of Martin Luther King,
Absolutely.
Yes.
because of the impact that he
It's
was having,
iconic.
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know.
This is. I
Yes.
mean,
Hashtag.
today's
Yes.
kids. And
Yes.
another thing that she mentioned was about really understanding not just the surface level of history, getting in depth with it and really
Yes.
embarking on it. Because we have
Right.
surface education. When you hear about I'm gonna use the word African American for lack of better terms. When we hear about the breakdown of that, the only thing you hear is about MLK, Martin Luther King, Harriet Tubman. But those are such surface conversations. Nobody really knows the history. Ask a black person what is Black American history. What are they gonna tell you? Marcus Garvey, MLK, Martin Luther King. Is that it? What? That's your Black history. So that's 50s and 60s. What happened before that?
Well, that's because they only give us that little month.
Okay, this is why I like this one right here. Right. However, we're gonna start at that catalyst because that was your launching pad.
Yeah. But,
Right.
well, it was really before then because my mom, I'll give you a little story. My mom was a domestic worker and she worked for very wealthy white people, right? So they would give her, and my mom she had impeccable taste when it came to dressing. And they would give her clothes and the clothes from their daughters they would give to me. So I was always dressed very nicely because, I didn't have a problem with it. So every day my mom would dress me in a different color. So I said, okay, I'm a brown girl today. I'm a red girl. I'm a green girl. Then one day I said, I'm a white girl. She grabbed me like this. And I
Wrong
didn't
statement.
mean
Yeah, I got you.
this.
Right.
Because
I got you.
because I didn't relate to white people like that. I never had that. I never been into that. She said, don't you ever, she grabbed me. She said, don't you ever say that. I said, but she said, do you hear me? I said, yes, ma'am. So my mother was a Harriet Tubman,
Gotcha.
okay? Even though she worked for white people, I never would forget. She told them, she said, you don't pay me enough for me to pay into Social Security. You want me to work for you? You paid my Social Security. They paid it. She ran the household.
Love it.
Okay, you understand? So, like the movie The Help, I couldn't see that because it was just touching me like my mom. But my mom was far more empowered than Viola Davis was because she didn't take any
Right.
craziness. But it just reminded me how we had no value. But then someone like her understood her role. She said, without me, nothing works in this house. And they're too paranoid to bring someone else in. So she was controlling. So she had so I learned, and she could have made some of that up, but I was like, you're not
See,
better than me.
But stories like that are rarely told. We hear the Viola Davis story.
Yeah.
We see that narrative of slavery.
Yeah.
We see that narrative of segregation. This is what I mean.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
Mind control.
right? So you're a young child. You got to see a very strong, prominent black woman stand on her own against crazy adversity. So when I'm hearing about this, to us, this is historical documents that
Right.
we've heard of, but never experienced. That's what separates you from us. You've had the experience. You obviously had a lot of confidence inside of you rightly so because of your mother. Obviously, you were always a little bit, sharper than the average knife that was surrounding you, because you were even sharpening other knives, as you said, from 5 years old, right?
Yes.
I was listening attentively to everything you're stating. However, the reality of your life still existed. You told me you saw the segregation, you saw the separation. If and just in a few sentences, break that down. What that reality looked like for a lot of us younger generation that don't understand the sacrifice it is to live what we live today.
Exactly. Exactly.
Because that's and I have to
Exactly.
get there because
That's very true.
I have to get
Very
there
true.
because the way that we live today is extremely ungrateful.
Oh yeah, it is. Yeah.
It is extremely ungrateful because again, history. We have no knowledge of really what some of those transitional, pivotal points of history look like. The sacrifice, the blood, the bleeding. It's overwhelming. So if you could just stay there for just a second and unpack that for the viewers, because they're probably need a little bit of reality
Information. Yeah.
and to understand the life that we're living and what that looks like.
Yeah, I think that's very well stated.
Thank you.
But there were people before me, like the
Most
Rosa
definitely.
Parks and the MLKs and whatever. So I would, when I came up, it was like a transitional period because I
Gotcha.
came at the beginning and the middle of Black Power, right? Where it was you wear your hair natural, you Black Power emblems on your clothes, say it loud, I'm Black and I'm proud, and the breakfast program with the Black Panthers. So everything around me was saying, hey, you are beautiful, you exist. And even
I'm
before then,
empowered.
Yeah.
Yep.
yeah, even before then, like I said, Dr. King, they had opened the doors, they had cracked the doors. So then we came in, we kicked those suckers open, okay? Because
I love
Cornell
that.
was the first university, Ivy League university, where we had an armed resistance. If you go back to Life magazine, you see the brothers carrying the guns because
Imagine
because
that imagery.
yeah, I mean it's right there. You can go back. Anyone
Yeah.
who's listening, you can go back and you can see it. They said, wait a minute, okay, we need to have people who look like us in terms of professors. We need to have some change happen. They shut down Willett Straight, which was one of the primary eating cafeterias, and Ithaca, Cornell is in the middle of Dryden, which was KKK territory. Okay, so
And that's where you attended school.
yeah, that's where I attended school. So when they came before me, so I'm paying respect and homage to the people who came before me.
Most definitely.
My thing is, it's just not about Jamila. Jamila stands on some shoulders, and so she's opening doors for people behind her, but some people open those doors before me.
See, pause. I can't let you keep going because I know you're a speaker, and you're gonna go. And that's such a powerful statement because why? We live in a society. I'm self-made. We live in a society is I'm
I
gonna
know
do
it
me.
all. I know it all.
I'm gonna do me. I'm all bad all by myself.
I know it all.
I know it all. And if it doesn't impact me directly, then I don't care.
Here,
Exactly.
correct. Which
But-
is the problem.
But again, this is why I wanted you to pause you just a quick second. I'm gonna let you finish. And the reason why that's so important is because I wouldn't have what I have again if it wasn't for somebody with your mentality or multiple people with your mentality, understanding the sacrifice that was set before me, understanding the responsibility of today, and understanding the
Exactly.
benefit of tomorrow.
Exactly. I love that. That's profound. Yeah.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. But that's how we thought, because that's how our ancestors thought. Our ancestors didn't have the crab in the barrel mentality. That was inbred within us, throughout slavery. It's
I
like,
love
okay, what happened during slavery is that you were programmed to snitch on each other. You were programmed to turn on each other because you were rewarded. But then when they reward you, they would kill you. So and I call them, I'm sorry, chicken head Negroes nowadays.
understand.
Who would turn on people and whatever.
Yeah,
And
coons, yeah.
in every case, when the people have used you, they get rid of you because they know if you would turn on your own,
Of course.
you would turn on us.
Most
So they get
definitely.
rid of you. So, but back in the day when I was when I went to Cornell, it was a different kind of day because we were not individual. We didn't think in individualistic terms. We were a collective. So if something happened to one,
I love it.
it happened to all of us. That's the reason why we had, at the height, 1,000 black people at the school. And we were very serious about that. Okay, brothers would not allow anybody to come up to violate the sisters, the white
Pause.
boys in the fraternities.
Pause.
No.
I'm glad you paused because
Pause. I have to pause. If I don't put a pause button on this woman,
but I have
pause.
so why
You caught all that, right?
I did,
Pause.
but it kind of brought some stuff up. If it mustered some things, but if you want to get your question out first,
Oh yeah,
go
yeah.
ahead.
You know I'm going in. I'm
Go
going
ahead.
in. I'm going in.
Go ahead, because this question it's
You
it's
see,
like
you created a
itching.
visual of community. That's what you created, right? The only community I see, and obviously this is not a blanket statement. I don't believe in blanket statements. Those are not rational. They're not real. However, they can be majority statements.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, even
Yeah.
though they're not blanket statements, right?
Yeah.
If my sister's getting raped right now, everybody's pull out a phone and then she's going viral. This is why I'm trying to pause you. You see what I'm saying? Where, as in, the responsibility of that girl, whether she was my sister, my cousin, my mom, or my daughter, was still my responsibility.
Exactly.
You caught that? It was still my responsibility.
correct.
Exactly.
Because we all had an agenda.
Exactly.
That was a collective
Exactly.
agenda.
Exactly.
Because we were all facing the same struggle.
Exactly. Oppression. Exactly.
In today's society, because they pacify our struggle with
It's so
temporary
so
fame,
much deeper than that.
temporary financial gains, temporary status,
Push pause.
sex, alcohol, education, whatever your temporary fix is, that blinds us from understanding the objective and the collective.
Okay. And I'm glad that you said temporary. So, listening to everything that Professor Franklin stated, and even you reiterating some of the things that she pinpointed or what you grasped from what she shared with us.
Yeah. The little bit I can grab, my minuscule brain. I'm trying to keep
the
up.
thesaurus is trying to.
I'm trying to keep up.
So, and it's a question as well as a statement. So the question I would like for you to answer after I make this statement, though, the question is, how important is education? But pause.
I knew
The
you were gonna say
statement that I have is going back to what we stated, population control and dumbing us down, right? And this is my personal belief. We hear so much about entrepreneurship. Absolutely nothing wrong with it. However, what our ancestors fought so hard for is being taken away in today's society because, I could do this. I could just be an entrepreneur. I don't need school. I don't need college. I don't need anything.
Yep.
Understandably so. I understand that aspect of it where people are like, all it does is it puts you in debt because of the financial aspect of it. True, to a certain extent.
She didn't feel the financial burden, so there's multiple options.
Coming back,
Okay,
full
my bad,
circle.
my bad, sorry.
That's why I stated how important, and I want you to look in the camera and speak to our people. Speak to our young ones. Speak to these parents.
Where's the camera?
How important is it for our young ones to get an education?
Okay. Well, remember what I said when I was 5? My mom said I was going to college, and she had never gone to college. She, depending on the day, she graduated from high school or she didn't. Whatever mood you caught in. But she saw how those white people for whom she worked, what it did for them. So she said, if that could do that for them, it can do it for you. And she told me, and education is something that no one can take from you. They can take your job.
Yep.
They can take your business. Okay, look at what they did to Kanye. Hello. Okay, they can take everything from you, but your mind, like they say, the United Negro College Fund is a terrible thing to waste.
Yes.
They can't take your mind. So that's the reason why they're working so diligently, young people, to keep you from knowing who you are and knowing how valuable education is. Because let me tell you something. This thing is so serious that a lot of young people don't even know how to read cursive handwriting.
Oh yeah, they removed it from the schools. What are you talking about?
Thank
Yeah.
It's no longer taught.
I was going there next.
Yeah. It's not taught.
Why they took our history out of schools. And
Oh yeah, and then
Trades, a lot of stuff
and
is
they're trying
removed from
to
schools.
ban books.
financial literacy.
Oh yeah,
Health.
yeah. So the whole thing
Sports,
about
music.
this,
Job Corps, things that they used to teach back then, it's non-existent. You ask people now, oh, you know, what is BOCES? You know, what do they have in schools to, you know, show you some form of trade? What? I don't know.
No. So I've told people, do you know how important it is for you to understand cursive handwriting?
It's crucial.
If you decide to go to college and do some research, you can't read the historical texts because
Yes,
they're all in cursive
cursive.
handwriting.
Yes.
You can't read it. Okay? So then you can't be literate and form your own institutions. You can't sign checks.
Correct.
You have to use DocuSign.
Yes.
Because you don't know how to, you can't print
You better preach.
your
Thank you.
signature. You can't even sign a check.
Thank you.
So I'm telling people, education, our ancestors knew. They were willing to give up their lives in order to learn how to read and learn how to write. So what they've done is they're playing you. All of you who think that you're on it and you're smart or whatever, let me tell you about this thing too. This TikTok thing, everybody now is a TikTok star. Beloveds, let me tell you something. In another 5 to 10 years, that's not going to even be around. So all of you who are banking on being a TikTok star forever, just like reality shows now, those reality stars don't have a job, you're going to be out of business. So if you don't get an education, if you don't build a business, you're going to be a pauper because everything has a time limit on it. It's not going to be forever. So if you don't understand and see, when I was growing up, we had the insight and the foresight. I knew, like when I went to Cornell, I said, this door is going to close. Let me get everything I can from this institution because I know in another 10 or 15 years, this is not going to be around for people. And I told all my friends, you better get this while the door is open. And I was right. Yes. So the same thing with all these things talking about, well, I don't need to go to school or whatever. Let me tell you, the difference between going to college and not going to college is not just about the books and the things like that. It's expansive. I went to school and sat next to people from countries that I had read about. So you can't tell me about Nigeria or whatever. I know people who went there, who lived there. You can't tell me all the stories, the lies that you see on television. I know people from the countries.
It's cultivating
because they were
culture.
sitting next to me. So I was learning. It was a cultural experience.
Yes.
It was a global experience. You can't get that in the streets. So all these things that they're brainwashing you with and dumbing you down, and the thing that hurts me, some of these entertainers who are pushing craziness into your brains, check their children. All of their children are in private schools.
Yes.
Yep.
Do you hear me? Snoops, all of them. Private schools,
Yes.
colleges, okay? They're telling you, just keep it real. And most of you can't even knock on their doors. You look like them, and they try to tell you a gangster. If you walk and knock on their doors, they will have you arrested. So you better really understand how this game is played. They're playing you. They're really playing you. Get an education. Like my mom said, no one can take that away from you. Your house, all these material things that you're banking on, because this country is going to go into another recession. You can lose all of that, but they cannot take your education from you and your knowledge and your ability to be a free thinker.
Yes. Thank you.
Listen.
Isn't that something we always preach?
Oh, yeah.
Because that's the thing. Coming from the islands, we always learn, lawyer, doctor, so forth. But then, coming to America, and not to say anything negative about America, when I came here, that's when, the doors opened up, expansively. And then I'm like, oh, people are actually making a career out of basketball. Oh, people are making a career out of music, different things like that. Even back in the day, if you look at Bob Marley's life, Bob Marley was a very educated man. It just wasn't about the music.
Yeah.
It was much more than that.
And he was a revolutionary.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
So
no. I was one
again,
of his
there's
favorites.
nothing wrong in pursuing your dreams. If you want to be a musician, great, but study music.
Yes.
Understand where
Yes.
it originated from. Like,
Yes.
these are the things that I cultivate in my children. You could aspire to be whatever you want in life. However, read.
Yes.
Research.
Yes.
Whatever subject it is, whatever profession it is, research it. Why do you want to travel that road? Where did it
Yes.
originate? And how can I make it even better? Expound on it.
But you know, the sad thing about all of these people that are, not even back in the day, that are current, Floyd Mayweather, can't read.
Not for the
Okay.
life of them.
Most of these people can't read their contracts.
Not for the life of them. Yep.
Do you understand? Young people, they can't read the contracts. Okay, they can't understand the contracts. So they have lawyers that don't look like them, steal their money. So by the
see
time
so
they get
often.
old, they have no money because they've stolen all of it. And TLC talked about that. They said we were making millions of dollars, and none of it was coming into the bank account, and you still don't get it. That's the thing that I loved about Prince, about Michael Jackson, because that's the reason they killed them. They killed them because they were like, oh no, Michael Jackson bought the Beatles catalog.
Yep. And he would not sell it back.
Bought the Beatles catalog.
Genius move.
Prince said, "Oh no, I'm going to own all of my music." He said, "No." He said, You're not gonna, I'm not going to be a slave to you." That's the reason why he has slave on his thing. He said, "Because I was a slave to the industry. Once I found out how this worked, oh no." So, and they were trying to educate people, like if you can read your own music,
You own your rights.
you can write your own lyrics, you can establish your own record label.
Trademark your name.
Trademark your name, because it's like
Very
with my business, I
important.
have my stuff trademarked.
Yes.
They don't understand any of this. All they want to do is make the quick dollar.
And that's what I teach with my PR stuff. Trademark is very important.
Professor Franklin,
Very important.
we're coming to the top of the hour.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
And this has gotten so deep.
Listen.
I wish we could continue.
I wish I can keep you for 10 more hours. No, I really enjoy jostling like this. I love these type of dialogues because, again, we don't have enough thought-provoking conversations like this in our community.
Yeah.
We have a lot of barbershop and salon conversations.
Yeah.
Really inflated conversations with no substance.
Yeah.
Just a whole bunch of helium that can pop so easily.
We need to get together and do a
Right.
workshop. I'm just saying.
So I think I really enjoyed this dialogue, but I do want to allow you to do a couple things in 2 minutes. So we're gonna be like we're in Toastmasters. You got 2 minutes, and I do mean 2 minutes.
Sprinkle.
I know.
So if you're giving a speech, you got 2 minutes. All right.
Time me.
Don't be them pastors that tell you they're gonna let you go at 12 and at 5 o'clock you still there.
I confess. I
All right.
confess.
All right. So in 2 minutes, if there's anything you would like to, a message that you would like to convey to the audience, whether it was something that you've learned along life that excelled you, whether it was it's something that you see that's a lack in today's society that they should really focus on, whatever that might be to you. It could be 1 or 2 points. In addition to that, close it off with how do we follow you? How do we stay engaged? How do we support? I know you're an author, you got books, you're doing a lot of things in the community. So we want to stay engaged. We want to stay engaged because you have a lot to offer.
We're going to do a workshop. That's
Right.
how they're going to stay
And I'll take that as well. I'll take that
I will
as
be
well.
happy to do it. Yeah.
So, let me see. 1, 2, 3, go.
He's really timing me.
Yeah, I am.
Okay. So in terms of, you have everything that you need. The creator of the universe gave you everything. All I'm doing is just having you remember who you are. You are God in expression. There's nothing wrong with you. And don't believe the matrix that they're telling you that you're flawed, that you're less than, and that they control your destiny. They don't. You are already sovereign. You don't have to have anyone give you permission. You are that. You were born that, and you're going to exit as that. You're powerful. That's it. Our ancestors have said it and continue to say it.
I
So
love
that's
it.
who we are.
How do we stay engaged?
Okay, Professor Jamila Franklin, Jamela Franklin. My website is oyendeenterprises.com, OYIN like in neighbor, D like in dog, E, and then enterprises, ENTERPRISES.com. And if you can't remember that, just Google me. I'm on Google. Jamila, Jamela Franklin. It's been a pleasure. Love all of you. Okay, namaste. And remember, you are everything because the Creator said that you are. Remember that.
We love it. We love it. So, guys, this was another amazing segment of Ikonic Konvo with
Diamond, of
and
course.
Dejan Talks. You can catch
Yes.
us each and every first and third Monday on the greatest station in Atlanta, of course,
Yes.
only
Yay.
on Power 108.3.
108.9.
Hey, and we'll catch you guys next time. Thank you guys. We love you. Bye.
Namaste.
This is